Hello, and today we have a video, and in this video, real quick, I'm going to be showing a little recorder I have. I'm not going to go into detail, but it's called a Tascam DR40. Very good recorder, just got it. It's pretty cool. This is what my voice sounds on it. It has a XY pair by default, and it can go into AB. I bring this up because this video is going to be about sound design, and a big part of sound design is having a recorder of sorts. So we're going to go and talk about Serum and making wavetables and such. So let's do that. Right, let's start talking about Serum wavetables. So, Serum comes with quite a few wavetables that aren't like all entirely useless, but they are kind of like, I mean, they have their uses, but they are analog, sort of. They have like some analog textures to them. Well, the analog section obviously, but then there does get the more like digital stuff, and then like the spectral, which I believe are like more scape kind of. They're like more, they have much more movement, so the spectral tables are much more like, they're more of the wave tables. All the first stuff is more like waves, like basically variations of a wave, like a saw wave to a dirtier saw wave, stuff like that. You don't have like those crazy Skrillex growl ones till you get over to the spectral section, which is where you get the more interesting ones. There's some like vowel, and then there's some vowel ones and such. So, when I'm gonna go at this from like a dubstep point of view, which is probably what people are more interested about when it comes to making wavetables in Serum. Because other than that, like there's synths and such you could go for. So I'll use the sample pack that I gave out. So we got lots of funky stuff in here. So the thing with like making wavetables in Serum is like, I'm gonna say like in my opinion, the hardest tables to make are like good growl tables, like for like any sort of like dubstep bass or anything like that. Like they are hard to make, in my opinion. They're harder to make than like synth tables, which might just have some bell data in them that make them like all kind of screechy or sine wave sort of, or you could just basically do like basic FM on like saw waves and stuff, and then just record a little blip of that and then import it, and then you'll find like some cool, more dirty versions of a saw wave you can use. So it's good to put like basically one shots inside of Serum, where like loops are not gonna work. So let's see. So even something like this is like a one shot, but they're a little too long. So you can put them in here, you can drag them. So my favorite options out of all of these are not anything except for basically the pitch average and the 2048 fast something that I don't remember, but it doesn't have anything to do with frames, if that's what you're wondering. I don't believe, at least, although it does have sort of a frame system. But if we put this in here, it does stuff. So this is what a bad wave looks like. See how it's so jumpy? So there's nothing. It looks like that. And I've kind of gotten to the point where I can tell if something's going to be like a shit show from the get-go. So we can look in here at our frames and go look at what happened. And essentially most of these are just sine or nothing. And that makes the wavetable look like that. It's really flat. The other way we could import it is using the FFT And then that will import kind of less waves. And then these are a little more usable, but there are situations where this pitch average is actually much better in terms of like getting like a smooth wavetable that can possess like vowels or whatever it is you're looking for inside of your wavetable. It's like it's in the instance of dubstep, you want a wavetable that has basically the whole growl movement in it. So then what you can do is do all the post-processing effects on it afterwards, because good wavetables make a huge difference. So the first thing you want to do is say I have this table. I want to test this table. How is it going to sound when I try to wavetable it? Because this is not like it's a wavetable, but it's a really bad one. So what I'll do is I'll come in, look at these frames. I'll kind of look for the key points where there's information. So there's like information at like 1 over here, nothing really in between, but these are kind of the points that transition to them, so they could be useful. So I basically just go through, keep looking for interesting frames, and then I stop seeing interesting frames once I hit this one. So I'm going to remove this one, but I'm going to do all the way to end, and that's just going to clean up the wavetable to 31 frames. I'm going to do morph at a 0 fundamental phase. So this makes the sound much more smoother, because you get weird clicks if you're going between frames sometimes if you just use crossfade or just spectral. So I like to use this one. And then you normalize each of them separately, because if not, we can see that our wavetable is quite varying in amplitude here. So if we go ahead and process this gain separately, everything will get like loud, so now it's like consistent. Going through this wavetable like this, I can tell it's going to be very choppy, but we can listen to it. So it's very choppy. The reason for this is probably there's too much distortion in the sound. And it is reversed, so that can cause some issues. So this is why impact sounds and one-shots are nice, and shorter one-shots. So let's go look through. Through this. I think we'll use percussion 5, but real quick, maybe we'll try to remove some frames so it comes out smoother. So let's get rid of these ones, because these are like crazy screechy looking. These are a little softer, so I'm going to get rid of all these like really screechy looking tables. Here, remove multi-selection. You can do the shift trick, like shift clicking to select things in between. Nah, let's listen to this again. Not bad, but it's still quite crazy. And there are going to be many sounds that are just useless. And not even like this first frame is useful. And there's going to be useful frames in here if you want to have one frame, like single cycle frames. But as far as the table and how the table works with itself, it's not good. There's no like you're not going to be able to have any sort of like movement that's like pleasant to the ears with this table. Like that gets like where you want to, basically. This is the most pleasant area, and that's not very much. It's not going past the first 21 frames. And that's barely anything. We could get much more spectrum movement out of this if we look at this. Because that's not much. And then the table itself is kind of distorted too much. So let's try this percussion thing. We'll do the pitch average. I'm going to come in, look for some stuff. Okay, I'm going to remove everything after here. Morph on the spectral. 0 fundamental phase, and then normalize. And what we've got. Quite interesting sound. So this is cool. So then, like, you know, I could go save this now and save it as, like, messy. Right? And if we look at in the spectrum here, it's got some nice movement. And you can see the way the wave kind of does this as you morph through it slowly. That it's staying smooth. You're not, like, going between waves that are, like, have high points here and here in the phase, and then you're just, like, going through a bunch of them that have the same phase, so the wave isn't, like, actually oscillating. So what looks nice, and, like, it looks pleasant, and it actually works, is when you move through the table, you can see, like, oscillation, and as well as, like, the actual fundamentals, like, oscillating as well. If you don't see this and you kind of see any sort of jumpiness, you probably have too many frames of the original sound and not enough, like, morph. Which means you would need to come in here and take out some more, like, crazy things, or the source sound you use just isn't good. So this is, like, pretty okay. But let's see, what you can do is you can come here into this multis section, and I do this with every wave, just to see what it sounds like, and I go down to this process squarify, and then I'll re-normalize everything, because then what this does is it takes out all the odd overtones and such, and then it makes it sound like a square wave with, like, more movement. Cool, so I'll save that, and then I basically save it as the same, but square, and then it's less stuff I have to do, and more tables I have later when I want them. So I'm going to go ahead and try this again with the percussion 5, but I'm going to use this 2048, and I'll compare it to the other one. So this one came in a little like this. I can tell by listening to these few waves that they're going to be quite nice if you wavetable them, and what's nice about this is there's only 6 frames, which means that they're going to, like, work with each other so well, because they're going to have so many morphing frames between them when I turn it into a table with just these frames, and I get rid of all the silence. And then we can maybe test it on the 1024. This feels a bit jumpy to me. And I know it's not crossfaded yet, but it still feels a bit jumpy. So let me try removing to the end, and I'll try the crossfade. It's pretty good, but in comparison to the 2048, I noticed that this one was actually quite better. So I'm going to go ahead and do it with this one. You can hear the growl in there, like right here. In this last half. And then there's so much space here, and it works well. It follows, like, those oscillating look-fors I was talking about. Cool. So I'll call this, like, percussion growl. Or not. Okay, and then what I'll do is I will save this. Oops. No, I mean, I'll come in here and do the squarify again. And now we have a table that looks quite flat, and then we process it like so, and now it has texture. So that's cool. And that's a cool wavetable. So now I'll go ahead and save that, but I'll actually save it with a P, and then add SQ to it. Now I made sick growl wavetables. Congrats. So that's where that's at. You can basically take, like, one-shots too. Say, let's go inside of a sample pack I have, like Leviathan, and look for bass one-shots. You can go find like a gritty one shot. Oops. Crap, every time. Something nice and mono. Like this, and then we'll try our 2 frame sizes. This looks quite ridiculous. If you scroll through it and it sounds like that, you're going to have a bad time. Most of the stuff you're going to get out is going to be transients and saw waves. I mean, sorry, sine waves. So let's try the other frame rate. That's much cooler. So I'm going to use this. Process them all, and then I'll crossfade. This is quite, like, screechy sounding. Maybe that has pad uses. Okay, but I'm having a hard time finding that gritty sound I want. So here's what we'll do. We'll go back to my sample pack, and we'll go find a kick. Was it not? We'll use this one. Again, look at them. What do we got at the start here? So that's kind of like what the first frame of a kick looks like, but that's a very messy look for the first frame. And then we got some more, and then it gets very subby. So again, if we go back to this table, the first frame looks a little cleaner, and then there's less frames, which is like cool. So I'll go ahead, drop the rest of these frames, process, and then what's cool here is these sound cool as single cycle waves. You feel me? They have like cool use, and then morph between them. If you want to have that sort of control, it's kind of like a filter. So this can make like cool like complextro basses or whatever, like just like chord things that go underneath a chord. They work quite well. As far as like what I had made here, let's see, somewhere in here, I have a destroyed square. So this came from like some modulation, but it's kind of like a square. But this came from FM, sorry, and then there might be something in here with destroyed sine. Monster sine. Here we are. So this was done with FM, like on a sine on. No, this was done with saw on saw wave, and this is what came out. Like just using like your Serum here. I basically like went in, did 2 saws, did FM. Kind of like that. So I did that sort of thing, probably from here. And then this kind of came out here, which was interesting. I squarify it, see what it sounds like. It's a pretty sweet sine wave sort of thing, and there's a few in here that I think some of these are made from like actual growl samples. Like, yeah, this was made from a one shot of a growl sample, so you can hear it in there. I don't want to like go look for something like, or go make a bass sound for this, but again, this has like that bass sound to it, which is kind of cool. And you can listen. I think I have some. So these are made with what I just did. Sorry, with my own wavetables, using the methods I've just shown you. Stuff like that. And what do we got? This uses a wavetable I made down here. I have that one, and then I have a square version. Get back. So, I have that. This was made with kind of like not so good wavetable. And you can kind of hear it suffering because of like the wavetable is a little... the wavetable's a little rough. So like again, you can hear how like the wavetable is kind of important. I don't know if there was a... But that's the good thing about having all these tables is sometimes they work in certain situations. So if you make yourself like a library, you can just simply scroll through. Because maybe something will work. You never know. So, yeah, I used the non-square version of this one. And, you know, sometimes you might get like a not so impressive wavetable stuck in your library, but that's fine. Because, you can always just take them out later. That sounds a little better. This is just like actually like a harmor wave. Here's a kick wave. This is kind of what it looks like. It's really cool. But yeah, wavetables are everything for Serum, especially if you're trying to make them dubsteps.